Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. Veteran boxing scribe Daisuke Sugiura took to his social media and stated the IBF Women's World Bantamweight Champion Miyo Yoshida will defend her title against Yoshida Metcalf at the Madison Square Garden Theater on October 23rd, that's tomorrow. On the day, three-time world champion Jorge Linares will be in Yoshida's corner. Linares is a veteran who speaks English, Spanish, and Japanese and will be a strong ally for Yoshida.
Yoshida!
This will be the sequel to their initial meeting that went down late last year. The fight where Miyo Yoshida lost the IBF interim title, just for her to be afforded a title shot anyway against Ebony Bridges, who needed a late replacement, and we all know what happened. Miyo Yoshida upset her. Miyo Yoshida became IBF champion, and it's taken all these months to get here. Miyo and Yoshida were intended to participate in the proposed 8-woman bantamweight tournament that Lou Dembella was trying to put together, but we know that tournament never really got off the ground.
No funding.
This rematch is not necessarily an arm of that tournament. It's only happening because the IBF ordered it, because Yoshida Metcalf is Miyo Yoshida's mandatory challenger.
Miyo has to fight her, tournament or no tournament, if she wants to keep the IBF title.
Miyo sports professional record of 17 wins with 4 losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 21 professional bouts.
36 years old.
To Yoshida Metcalf, who sports professional record of 13 wins with 4 losses, 1 draw, 2 recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 18 professional bouts.
39 years old.
Yoshida is the taller, longer fighter of the two, and she knows how to use it. If you saw their initial meeting, Yoshida is best described as a stick-and-move outside fighter, outside jabber, a pure boxer, circling away from her opponent, using the ring to walk her opponent into punches. That's what she did with Miyo for long spells of their initial meeting. And it wasn't until the fight progressed, it wasn't until the latter stages of the fight that Miyo started landing punches, landing shots, landing with authority. But by then, it was too little and too late.
Yoshida had already banked too many rounds.
Miyo's had close to a year to think about it. How would she beat Yoshida Metcalf if she ever had to fight her again? I don't know that she's figured it out. Change she has to make is not necessarily a big one, but a significant one. She's got to cut off the ring. You can't just follow Yoshida in a straight line.
Miyo Yoshida, God bless her, looks a lot like a pressure fighter, but a very low-level pressure fighter, tantamount to a brawler.
We often talk about the dichotomy between pressure fighters and pure boxers and how usually a pressure fighter has the edge over a pure boxer, but that's by keeping the pure boxer under pressure, being able to stay with them and stay on them, throwing 3 and 4 punch combinations.
But they have to stay on them.
They have to be able to. Otherwise, what you end up with is a fight like Lara versus Angulo.
It's rare, but it happens.
Usually, what you usually see is the pressure fighter gets the best of the pure boxer. But there are those rare instances, like Lara versus Angulo, where the pure boxer wins, because the pressure guy's feet are too slow.
They can't keep up.
It's what happened to Alfredo Angulo when he fought Lara. That's what happened to Miyo Yoshida when she fought Yoshida.
Is it going to happen again?
I don't know. Yoshida Metcalf hasn't fought since that Miyo Yoshida fight late last year in November.
She hasn't fought.
Miyo has. She fought the following month in December against Ebony Bridges. Sharita Metcalf being some years older than Miyo Yoshida and not having fought in a while, that's a factor.
Jorge Linares being in Miyo Yoshida's corner for this one, that's another factor.
I might have to ride the fence on this one because Sharita has the ingredients to beat Miyo again, but you wonder what effect time has had on her.
A lot of time has passed.
This fight will air on the Pro Box YouTube channel for those interested, and I will be going live for the fight, but here and now, I can't tell you with any certainty who's gonna win this thing. Is Sharita gonna beat her again, or has Miyo figured this out?
Does she know what she has to do now? All the experiences from the first fight, has she turned that into a better game plan for the second? I don't know.
But I'll be watching tomorrow night.
May the best woman win.
In men's super lightweight news, ahead of this weekend's mega match, former champion Regis Prograis and his enduring love for a super dirty sport. There were plenty of fighters who have been chewed up and spat out by the sport by age 35. Their dreams over, their ambition absent, their love for boxing. When they wore headgear and a vest and collected small trophies in victory or defeat, a distant memory. Those trophies meant the world, a sign of dreams, of facing down fear, of accomplishment. They were pure, unsullied by professional politics, earned by passion and love. Often at 35, a boxer who's been in a sport longer as a pro than as an amateur, the feelings change and the hunger and desire is replaced by a business-like, borderline depressed cynicism. But as Regis Prograis, wearing a plain white tee and a beige baseball cap, prepares to answer questions in another box-off 10-minute interview slot on Zoom, there is a childlike enthusiasm in his eyes. He's traveling to Manchester as the opponent for fellow junior welterweight contender Jack Catterall.
Casserole?
And he's felt the stick of the sport while sampling its many carrots. Yet despite a second consecutive fight date coming in an opponent's hometown, and although he no longer wears a world title he has twice had around his waist, he still has an urge to fight. In Prograis' office in his home in New Orleans, there are framed pictures of loved ones, trophies, medals, books, and fight credentials. And the veteran southpaw, surrounded by memories, is excited by the task at hand. Yes, he's heading to the UK on business, but that also happens to be a pleasure. I've still got the juices flowing. Definitely. I'm still hungry, says Prograis, who is 29-2 with 24 stoppages. My thing is, I want to be a 3-time world champion. I have another goal at first. When I have the belt, I kinda didn't care about it at first. But when I want something and I establish a goal, I'm hungry for it. I'm doing the things that got me here in the first place.
And what is an uphill battle? I've been saying it throughout. I've been saying it since the fight was announced. Stylistically, this fight ain't no better for Regis than the last two were. The fight with Devin, the fight with Danielito.
Stylistically, the fight with Jack could prove to be just as difficult. Of course, at his age, with his experiences, he is nearer to the end than the start of his career. But knowing that time might be called sooner than later, he is asked whether or not, if he were to retire now, would he be satisfied? Originally, yes, he pauses for thought and responds, I did accomplish what I wanted to accomplish in boxing, and I invested real well in stuff, but I still have so much to go, and I just really love the sport. I tell people all the time, I really just love the sport. I love boxing. I love watching boxing. That's just what I like to do. And I still have so much gas in the tank left, I can't see myself leaving now.
Not everybody has the affinity for the sport that Regis has. I mean, take Artur Beterbiev. They ask him about it, and he says he's not even a fan of boxing. It's just his job.
He doesn't watch it. He doesn't keep up with it and everything that's going on. But Regis is the opposite.
He loves the sport. He loves his job.
Charlie's Catterall, who he fights on Saturday at the new Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, will be keen to show Prograis the way out. But Prograis has no intention of walking. Instead, the American believes Catterall is merely a stepping stone in his bid to further his career and fulfill his fresh ambitions and achieve targets that have gradually altered since he started out. Obviously, when you start boxing, you want to become a champion, Prograis explains. When I started boxing, I just wanted to be the best out of my city, you know? Not even nothing. Then I started moving around like, man, I want to be the best amateur or something. All right, then my goals changed. I wanted to become a pro, not even be a champion. I did that, and I remember early on in my career, I was sparring guys that were on Showbox, and I was whooping them. While some fighters fall out of love with the sport or lose the passion, Prograis can still be found in his office studying tape, watching the likes of Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Joe Louis for inspiration, or educating himself by watching Roberto Duran, Zab Judah, and Pernell Whitaker. While he holds the sports legends in such high regard, his view of Catterall is infinitely more modest. He is as blunt as he is complimentary when discussing the awkward English southpaw from Chorley. He's a decent fighter, Prograis says at the same time as mustering a sigh. For me, he's a decent fighter. Like I keep saying, he's just not on my level, but he's a decent fighter. The only thing he's got for me is the Josh Taylor thing. What else? He's got 2 close fights with Josh Taylor. He won the first one, I definitely feel like they gave it to Josh Taylor. The second one was closer, but they felt like they owed him, and they gave it to him. But you look at it besides that, what does Jack Catterall have on his resume? I can't see nothing. I really can't see nothing.
So maybe Jack doesn't have the most robust resume outside of those 2 Josh Taylor fights?
But he still seems to me to be a guy who stylistically can give Regis a lot of problems because he's defensively responsible and stays behind his jab, employs it often.
Doesn't take stupid chances, doesn't throw stupid punches.
For a counter puncher like Regis Prograis, I mean, that's what they rely on. Catching a guy in between the punches. Guy who's going to throw 3 and 4 punches at a time.
Cavalier.
And Jack isn't that kind of guy. The belief is that the momentum is with Jack Catterall, while the emphatic nature of Prograis' loss to Devin Haney in December, during which he was floored in round 3, might have contributed to many believing that he could be on the wrong side of the hill. Does Prograis believe he is meeting Catterall at his best? Maybe. I don't know what his peak is. It's hard for me to judge. It just doesn't matter to me. All that stuff, it really doesn't matter. Then where does Prograis think he is in his own career? I feel like I'm getting to my peak. I'm 35 and that's considered old. But at the same time, I started boxing late and I took care of my body. I don't do nothing. I don't smoke, drink, do no drugs, nothing like that. I eat the right foods, most of the time year round. Always doing what I have to do, and basically, I feel good. I can't say if I'm at my peak or not. I just feel good.
A part of what makes this fight so intriguing to me is a lot of people saw Regis' last 2 performances and came to the conclusion that this guy's on a slide. He's in decline. That's how some people feel. I'm not sure that I agree with them because of the fighters' styles. Those styles didn't do Regis no favors. So is it that he's getting older, or is it that those were bad style matchups?
That's the question. And can he look any better against Jack Catterall this weekend when stylistically it's a similar matchup to the last 2?
It ain't that different.
One thing's for sure. If he's able to beat Jack, that will prove that he still has it. That the last 2 fights were just bad style matchups.
Still got something left.
See if he does. Reflecting on his loss to Devin Haney in his last fight, Prograis is mature enough to see the sport's snakes and ladders, the pitfalls and the upsides. Sure, he has a passion for boxing, but he's not naive to the business. For many, a move to Matchroom would be the dream, but Prograis views it as a transactional relationship. At the time, I think that was the best option. I do, he reflects. That was the best option at the time when you look at it in hindsight. Maybe something else could have been good, but I think that was probably the best option, and I'm happy. I'm cool with them. Sometimes we might not get along that much, but at the same time, listen, that's how it's supposed to be. I'm old enough. I'm not 20, 25. I understand it's not personal. It's all business. I understand. A lot of fighters don't understand, and they call Eddie Hearn a bitch. Listen, this is not personal. These are not my friends. I don't talk to them on the phone like that. I understand this is only a business, and if they can't profit off you, why would they even want to talk to you? So I know this. But with Haney in San Francisco and Catterall in Manchester, it is a significant ask for someone of Prograis' stature to go on the road and face the odds.
At the same time, it takes maturity to be so even-tempered about it, so level-headed, that yeah, you had to fight Devin in his neck of the woods, and now you're fighting Jack in his, but Danielito Zorrilla had to fight you in yours.
Yeah, basically Prograis admits that's what they gave me, especially this. I understand the San Francisco thing. So when I signed with them, I basically didn't have a manager. I was doing everything myself. Now, I have a manager in Brian Peters that's going to take care of everything, so maybe looking looking at it in hindsight, I probably should have had a manager that's directing me to do things, but now I have that again. At first I didn't. I was kind of just doing everything myself, and that was kind of a distraction. But you look at the money, and with the San Francisco thing, they were telling me I was gonna get this, and I was gonna get this. I was gonna get all this stuff. And you're driven by that. And now with this, that's what they told me. Look, you're gonna do this, or there's nothing else for you. It's Jack Catterall in Manchester, or it's nothing else. Now, looking back, same thing, hindsight. There's probably gonna be something else out there for me. But I took on the opportunity, and I understand what's at risk. But I understand when you have a lot of risk, you also have a lot of rewards. I'm just up for it because I just don't think Jack is a threat to me.
Jack ain't the puncher that Regis Prograis is. Even if his last 2 fights are not the best advertisement for his power, that's because he was unable to deliver it, not because he doesn't have it.
He still has it. 35 years old. You're not exactly young in boxing at that age, but you're not so old either that your power goes away. You often hear it said that power is the last thing to go. And Regis Prograis, at least historically, has always been a very strong puncher. One of the strongest at 140 pounds.
At least historically.
But he's got to get in with those punches. He has to be able to deliver that power. And against moving targets and jabbers in Danielito Zorrilla and Devin Haney, well, you saw what happened.
Is it going to be any different with Jack?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question here and now. That's why we watch. That's why we tune in, to get the answer. But on the outside looking in, the Jack Catterall fight doesn't seem that different than the last two. So what needs to be different this time is Regis. Regis is the one that has to change things. Regis is the one that has to try a different approach. For boxer punchers / counter punchers like Regis,
Like Teofimo.
they're at their best when they're hanging back and looking to catch a guy in between the shots. But if they're drawn out and they have to come forward and they have to initiate, they're not as good.
Why?
They've grown accustomed to a certain kind of guy that affords them a certain kind of opportunity. What they're struggling with is diversifying their offense as they're coming forward.
Huh?
They're not being creative enough, improvising enough, opening up the opponent. You may have seen Vasily Lomachenko on more than one occasion, as he's closing the distance, get a shot in, and pull his opponent's guard down. Pull it down manually.
Right?
Gave rise to questions as to whether or not that's illegal. Is that legal in the sport of boxing? And it is. This is what I mean by diversifying your offense. If you've got a guy tucked behind a shell, doesn't want to open up,
It's up to you to find a way around it.
and to find a way around it, you have to improvise. You have to be creative. You have to diversify your offense. That's what Teofimo struggles with. That's what Regis struggled with. Trying to chase down Danielito Zorrilla, trying to chase down Devin Haney.
Is he going to struggle with that this weekend?
You have to tune in to find out. Recommendations can be made, like perhaps doubling and tripling up on the jab, not with the intention of landing the jab, but keeping the other man's guns holstered as you get close enough to him to land the hard punches.
It's one thing he can do.
Another thing he can do is keep his own guns holstered as he inches forward, tucked behind his guard, looking to catch and shoot, putting pressure on Jack with his feet instead of his volume, instead of his hands.
Catch and counter.
I will admit that strategy in particular is heavily reliant on speed and reflexes, timing, and at 35 years old, out for this many months, what is Regis' timing like? We really don't know.
But we'll find out.
Like I said, it's a very intriguing fight.